familiar with the type of comments. So for that, I suggest to go religiously follow on this subject, especially these lessons, so that you can able to pass. Okay. Now, you may ask, I want to have more thing practice exam that point of view. What I did actually here is my own repo where I have created a exams type of scenarios that you can able to use it. You can able to use all exam type of scenario that you can able to clear. Or you want to have other resources, you can also use any one of the resources. One of the thing is actually killer.sh is actually is one of the tool. Now in the from last year, sorry, this year around May timeframe, Linux Foundation is actually decided to give you free. Every time that you sign up for the exam, they will give you part of your exam registration as a free. You can have a 36 hours cluster that you can able to try. Okay. Now, how much is the exam fee? Okay, the first thing is actually is $375 is the exam fee that you need to take, and you pay for $375. First time you can go and appear. If you fail, don't worry, you will get a one more free retake. You can able to take the retake of the exam. Okay, you don't need to pay for it. It already include in the dollar. Okay, but I suggest actually is to get discount. There are a lot of discounts running on, especially you'll always find take 15% or 30% discount. Try to get this discount from the Linux Foundation. Then you will able to get the discount voucher. Then you apply. Then you will able to get that. Once you get it, it will be valid for 12 months. Right, so you can go and use that 12 months. Within the 12 months period, you must be able to take the exam, including free retake. Okay. So exam valid for, how long it's exam valid? CKAD valid for 3 years, whereas the Kubernetes security is actually valid for 2 years. Okay, if you want to renew your exam, you must be able to recertify again, then it will be renewed. Results, always don't expect the result will appear immediately. It will take 24 hours to get your result. Okay, after 24 hours, the email will be available in your inbox. Then you can say that, okay, congratulations or retake. If it's congratulations, you are passed. If you have a retake link, then you are failed. You go and look at your portal and look at the retake exam. Okay. Now, the thing is actually is the overall exam is actually practice, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to practice this. I'm going to show you how the exam feel look like so that you understand the feeling you can able to do. To do that, I have put up a question. This is actually from my own blog that you can see. The exam questions will look like this. You have a context, you will have a scenario, then they will have a task. Each time, what do you need to look at? You need to look at these names. What is this? The course. Don't even misspell any of this. Exactly, it has to look at the same thing. If it's hyphen, you must have hyphen. You cannot have underscore. Okay, every single letter here must be the same. Okay, you can't change. If you change, you will fail because it's actually automated script that is going to test. At the end of the day, it's going to get you compute the result. Every single item that you need to follow exactly the line that actually the gray area that you see, you must follow the same. Okay, so with this, right, let's practice one by one. For this, if you want to know, here is my GitHub repo where I actually listed all the item here. You can able to see a practice question, then you are able to see the answers as well. Each and everything that I have given you the answers also. Okay, you can expand, you can see the responses to that answers as well. Okay, I have created actually after this session, I went ahead and come up with this particular task and actually created this entire GitHub repo so that somebody will get benefited. Okay, so all the answers are actually given. And then you can able to set, if you want to set up this environment, just go here, run the script. You will, as long as you have a cluster, you can set up this environment. If you at the end of the day you want to clean up, just run the script, it will clean up for you. So that every time that you do, it will be a new for you. Okay, now let's focus on Here is the course that I'm referring to in Udemy that you can go and purchase. Is at $21. You always have a promotion. You'll just look for the discount code or promotion. You will get much more cheaper than this price, right? This is one. There's this another one here. Okay, these are two courses that you can be able to do. Like you can see, the 87,000 people actually signed up for this. Here is actually 30,000, 129,000 people actually is signed up for this, right? Now, this is actually the website from the Code Club. They are also providing you this. They have a lot of website, but actually you can able to go and do this, right? When you sign up from here or Udemy or here, the lab will be, you will be getting the lab here, okay? Then if you go to your Linux portal, here is the Linux portal that you are seeing. This is the certification that I completed. I have completed 2, okay, that you can see. This is third one that I'm going to do. If you click the resume for security, that you can see here. They're actually, this is the new feature they have introduced. That's why I'm coming here, right? You can see that here, click access for exam simulator. This is the free exam simulator they are giving you right now. Previously, when I was doing CKA, they are not given this, but when I did the CKAD, they have given this simulator. This simulator comes from this company called killer.sh. Basically, the simulator will look like this. This simulator will valid for 36 hours. Once you start it, there is no stop button. It will continually go for 36 hours. So actually, you will have a 2 environment. You got 2, but I activated only 1. I never activated a second one. Still, I can activate within one year. But here you can see that this environment, if I go here, you can be able to see the environment no longer valid, but the questions that you can see here, all the questions that you can able to view, right? The question that came. The questions are the same between the CKA and CKAD, but the environment that you can able to see here, okay? This is the simulation that you will get. You will have a same feeling of exam on the day of exam, how you are going to do it. Okay. With this, let's move on to the exam. So on the day of exam, one other thing that you need to take. Let's take it, right? I'm going to click this continue learning. This is the from the codecloud.com website that you can see that all the subject that you are learning from here. Okay. Each subject that you can able to learn, then each one you have a practice test. Okay, on the right side, you can see that practice test. When you click this practice test, basically, right, what happened is actually is this practice test will launch a window inside your environment. Okay, this will be ready for you. Okay, young thing, you can do this. Otherwise, if you have a one cluster, you can go and set up your own cluster, because I set up my own cluster as well in the using the Azure. Okay, kubectl get node, right? Then I can able to get my cluster, right? I'm running a 3-node cluster here. I can also practice here. I can also practice here. If you have one cluster, you want to use a kubeadm, go ahead and do it. If you don't have this, right, then I suggest to go with this, right? Now, if you look at this, right, the actual exam also will look like something similar to this, okay? If you look at this, there will be a task. The task will be given. If you look at here, right, how many ports exist in the system? This is a simple question they are asking. So you can type kubectl get port. Okay. Now, if I type no port, nothing. If I click 0, you see my answer is correct because no port is exist. What happened is now he is creating another environment. He's trying to do all this thing, because you can practice this later, but I'm not going to do this now. Okay. Let's focus on what we want to do, or rather I want to do. Okay. So now if I go to my portal, right, the exam portal, just now I created this simulation item for you, right? Here he also has the simulation question, everything. Later I can show you, but for now let me stick to my plan. Okay. Just reduce this so that I can put it here. You can see side by side. Okay. Okay. So let's assume that this is the exam panel. Your panel will look like this. Okay. In actual exam also will be looking like this. You will have your question here. Okay. Then you need to look at your question. Then you need to start answering in this panel of window. So one thing is actually you need to take note is here is you can go and right click and paste and everything. And if you are Linux window, here you need to use this window, copy paste. Okay. So for example, I want to set up this environment right now. I can go ahead and set up this. I can right click and copy paste. OK, but actual exam, you will not able to access this website. I'll tell you how to do this. Actual exam, you can go to this kubernetes.com and you can access these website. Actually, this is only two tab allow you to open. If you want to do a kubectl command, alias, click this and copy paste. And you can also autocomplete. You can copy autocomplete all these commands. You can able to do that in actual day of the exam. OK. Now, going back, so now if I want to set up my environment, I can go and create my environment here. I copy and paste, right? Basically, what happened is now it is going to create the environment that I want to create. All my code and all my things that I want to set up for my exam, I'm clear it. OK, I'm ready to set up already. Now, first question you look at here. What is this asking? Create an application deployment called Karma using kubectl. OK, so first thing is actually what I need to do. I need to create a my port. OK, but first thing is I said there is a car.namespace already exists. First, I need to make sure that the car.namespace is exist. For example, right? If you notice, right, first thing I did actually I created some alias here. OK. K.KGP means get port. OK, so all this that actually I created. So if I want to type, I can type kubectl. OK, get namespace. OK, I can type this, but in order to type, it takes time, right, for me. So in the exam time, you don't have this much of luxury time. So that is the reason we actually ask you to create alias. So if I want to type this, instead of typing this, OK, I can type like this, K get OK namespace. Right, I can type very fast. I can able to get it. So any alias that I type, I'm able to get that alias very fast. OK, example here is what I want to do here is one of the thing is I want to create a deployment. So here is very clear. So first I want to type deployment K create deployment. Okay, deployment. First thing is what it says that namespace. First, I need to put the namespace. OK, N short name is for namespace N. I can type cars because car is the namespace. Then my deployment name car mart at web app. OK, I'm typing this. Then next is what image equal to nginx. It's asking me to take the tag value because I'm typing this value now. OK, image tag value. The next is actually I need to create up a replica equal to 4, right? So replicas. So if I enter this command, basically what happened is actually it will go and create a deployment. Now, if I go and look at this KGP, which is a kubectl get port, it actually go and look at my port. I won't get anything because I don't have any of the ports here. OK, so what I'm going to do, because I didn't give a my namespace, right? If I type with the namespace, that I can able to see that my ports are getting created. The ports are start getting created. If I want to know my get deployment, right? -n cars. Okay. Now I can able to see that my cars deployment already exists, right? Again, I'm going back to using my cursor and trying to see that my 4 replica copy is running now. OK, so now if I look at this, I am able to make sure that this all running. How do I make sure that the port is running? I don't know whether this exact name and everything is remaining same. First thing, actually, I make sure that my name is correct. car.webmart is correct, my deployment name. Then I'm also inside my cars namespace. I'm already confirmed that it is in my cars namespace. Now I need to make sure that my deployment is actually I'm using the right image, right? So I can go here, kubectl. OK, get describe deployment. OK, Then I can type the deployment name. This is what actually on the day of exam that you are going to do. Okay, whatever I'm going to do, this is the exact thing that you will do. Okay. Okay, so now you can see that my deployment is here. I can be able to see my description of my deployment. I'm using image nginx 1.1. Okay, this is the image that I'm using. Everything is set. I'm having a 4 replicas and all of them looks good. Okay, now I can clear this. So now with me, this question is perfect. There will be given notepad here. Use the notepad and put that percentage of the mark that is given for this so that you are more comfortable. Okay, that you know what it is. Let's move on to the second question. Now, you are running an application called CarMart apps. Okay, this car app, right, basically is in the cars. Just know what we deployed. But when you deploy this, what happened is you are deployed using kubectl. You don't have a backup. So your boss is actually asking you to keep the backup in persistent, right? He want to export whatever you deploy as a YAML file. Okay, so how do I do that, right? These things that if you look at here, you need to expose as a YAML file. So first thing is actually is k.get deployment. Okay, which namespace? Cars, right? Then you can see that which deployment that we need to do, car.webmart.web app, right? Then I need to output this. I can go to say output is equal to YAML. Okay, if I enter here, what happened is the whole output has actually come up the YAML to me here. Okay, now I want to redirect this output to one of the file that actually is given here. Okay, I want to take this file. I copy this. Okay, I go here and paste it. Okay, this is the file name that has actually asked me to do. Actually, I done. I enter it. Now, if I go cat car. Okay, let me clear it so that you can see it full. Okay. Cat or so now you can see that my file is actually exported. The whole configuration is exported. If I want to redeploy, I want to do anything, I can use this file to redeploy. Okay. Now I also successfully completed this entire thing. Now, if I want to go further, I can go further, right? So for example, this is one of the type of questions. This is from networking. It says that I'm running an application here. Okay. I have a superstore application that is runs on the apps namespace. If I want to validate this, kubectl, right? Get port from which namespace? Apps namespace, right? I can able to see that there are application is already exist and running, but this application does not expose outside. Now what I want to do, I want to expose this into outside world. So to expose outside world, I need to do certain things, right? So for this example, I want to expose this kubectl, okay, hyphen n, which namespace expose, okay, then deploy. I'm exposing the deployment. So I'm typing deployment name, then which deployment name? Superstore, right? Superstore. Now, next thing is what I want to do. I need to ensure that I'm exposing this into a port. It asked me to expose into port 8080. So I'm exposing port 8080. So I also want to give a target port because port 8080, but internally the target port is actually port 80. Okay, port target port is actually port 80. I want to give it to the port 80. Then I want to give a name because it's actually asked me to give a name here, right? I need to give a name. So I can go in here and take the name hyphen name. Then I can paste the name. Okay. So now if you look at this, service actually is exposed. Okay. So you can see that the service is actually exposed. but I want to test the service whether it's actually working or not. Every time that you expose service in exam, make sure that you are testing that service is actually correctly exposed or not. So to do that, basically what you need to do, you need to go and run this into the another command, or actually you can able to use the busy box to mount it. So to time consumption, I'm just copy paste my command. You can use kubectl run busy box, then you provide a box name and you restart it, then you just test the item, right? Because you know which port, because you must make sure that you are giving your namespace. If you don't give a namespace, it won't work. Okay, so now if you look at this, it will give me a response, right? Because the expose is actually the prompt, the thing is actually exposed. Okay, it is actually say that my busy box is deleted. Okay, let's see. Okay, so make sure that you are typing everything correct, then you will able to get the services. Okay. So you will get to know the is timeout coming. I don't know why, but usually you'll get a response. Okay, you retry this.
I see the expose command is missing with 8080. So you missed out 8080. So you put like 808 alone.
Oh, okay, sorry. I understood. Okay, because maybe I typed fast here, so it went on different thing. Okay. Now, if you look at this, right, next one here is actually is the question, right? Each question has a different items. Let me move on to some interesting question that you want to try. Okay. Is it make sense so far, guys? Any feedback, any comments? I'm in a right speed, or do you want me to go further speed?
Yeah, for me, I think
all good. All good. Thanks for sharing this.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's move on. So I want to go with something else so that it makes you interesting. So this one is, look at the question 8. Question 8 is actually asking you to create a persistent volume with a certain size, and actually ask you to claim the persistent volume and run that persistent volume with the port, right? So now if you look at this, right, let me copy this entire window. I was talking about this, right? You can open up a new window in your exam like this. Only one window allowed, additional window. Okay, if you have forgot any kubectl command, you can refer this. Okay, you can refer entire thing. Not only this, you can also refer this called kubectl command file. All the command that you can able to see. Now, if you want to create persistent volume, you don't have a persistent volume here. Okay, so how do I create that? I don't have a kubectl command, but you're asking me to create a persistent volume here. Okay, now first thing is you need to understand this, what is asking SPDB on everything, right? You can go back to your window. One thing you just take note, CKAD exam bookmark. Every exam that you are going to do, make sure that you are making all your bookmark in your favorite, or you go to this and create a new bookmark using bookmark collection using Microsoft Edge. In Edge, there is a new feature called bookmark collections, right? You can use that bookmark collection. You can able to get this entire piece. For example, this case is asking me to do a persistent volume. So what I'm going to do here, because this will help you a lot in the actual exam. Now I want to know persistent volume. Configure port using persistent volume storage in the Kubernetes. I click this. It loads me this page, right? So if you look at this, it actually asks me to create a persistent volume. What I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this. I'm copying this window. I'm going to here. I'm going to V. I say that PV means persistent volume. I actually type. I do my best practice. I do this way. Okay. Question number 8 PV, so that I know exactly which question I type. Always I put the question number in front and I do a prefix. Okay. Now I enter this. Then I go and paste my comment that what I copied. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here, I'm going to edit this, right? What is the name that was given? If you are finding difficulties, go here, copy and paste, okay? Because so that you don't make mistake. Wherever you want to do, you can copy paste. Actual exam, you can do this. Okay, now because it's asking me storage class is what? Auto. So I need to change my storage class to auto. To learn all this, you go, please attend the course so that you will able to learn what it means each and every item that I'm talking about here. The third thing is actually second thing I need to give you the space, right? Capacity. I have given the capacity. Then it says that access mode is read and write once. Then third one is actually what I'm going to do here is volume, that this is the path that I need to change. Okay, taking this path, I'm going here. I can right click and I can paste. Sorry. When I right click, it was actually done. So that's why it is not coming. Okay. So now if I go here, I use my V editor, I exit. Now if I go to KCF, because I have a shortcut already created, I just Q8, then I tab, my autocomplete will come. Okay. Now if I enter, it will actually create my persistent volume. If I go and get, PV, I can see that my persistent volume is created with the name that I have given, retain, and everything is created. Now what I need to do, persistent volume claim. So in order to create a persistent volume claim, again, I'm going to the same thing. I look at the persistent volume. I'm just scrolling below, create persistent volume claim. I'm going to take this claim a YAML script. I'm going here, I'm typing here Q8 pvc.yaml. Now I'm pasting this. Okay. Now I'm going to do one thing here. I'm going to change name because it's actually have a name sgdbpvc, right? That's a name is there. What I have given for my storage class auto, right? Because it needs to match exactly the same. I also need to match my storage that actually I have given there, right? 100 MI. So now what happened is it will look at my storage and is going to go and claim my storage class with a capacity. As long as this is there, it will come. One thing you need to take note, okay? The trick of the exam always there actually is here is the namespace. Look at the namespace. It's called SGDB namespace. In your right one exam, you don't have, in the template, you don't have this. Now what you need to do, you need to add a namespace SGDB. Otherwise, the persistent volume that you created will be claimed. Then you need to delete. You will spend a lot of time on doing this troubleshooting. Instead, please be careful on every item that you are trying to do so that it will be easily mounted. Okay. Now, if I go kubectl, right? Same thing, PVC. Okay. CF. Okay, Q8 hyphen PVC. Okay, now if you look at this, my kubectl get PVC. I won't get anything because I don't have anything here. But where is that? Namespace SGDB. If I go here, I can see that my persistent volume is already mounted. If I go back to my get PV, you can see that my previously you see is available now is bounded to this particular PVC. So I claim my persistent volume. Now what I need to do, I need to create a port using this volume, right? To create this, again, I can use kubectl. There are a lot of things here. What I'm going to do, I'm just browsing below. I'm going to copy this guy. I'm copy and I'm going here, right? V Q8 4.yaml. I'm pasting it. Okay. I'm just trying to do what actually on the day exam, how do you behave, right? How you make it your life easier, because based on my experience, this is what I did. I'm just explaining here what I did. Okay. Because typing you don't have much time in the exam, actual exam when you go. Okay. You need to minimize your typing when you go there. How much you know or not, that is not a question here. You need to minimize, then only you can able to do it. If you notice, I'm not changing any of the thing is not required, right? I'm just changing only which actually is I need to do, right? So NGX, what is the name of my thing? I copy paste my port. The next one is actually is this one, right? My path. Okay, again, it is taken. So I need to, in actual exam, you don't need to worry about this because actual exam, the right click for copy doesn't going to work. Okay, you just need to copy paste, or actually you can need to do this. Okay, so this is what actually I'm going to do. Rest of the thing I'm leaving it as it is because it doesn't ask me to change my container name. It doesn't ask me to do any of the stuff, right? So I'm going to do this. Q KCF 8 port YAML. So this will create my port and everything is perfect. Okay, if I go get port from which web n -sgdb. If I go here, right, my port is running on here. Okay, if I want to know more detail, I can go and get describe, then I will know all the detail of the description and everything. Okay, so this is how you can able to create, you can able to do entire thing. So now it's time up. So I just want to go back to the thing. So you have all the resources that you are looking for in this website. Okay, you can go here, you can get it all the resources, whatever I typed so far, you can able to see here. Okay, actually I just created a 9 scenarios. Each scenario is very deep that you can able to learn and you can able to gain that. Okay, there are also other scenario that I have given in the things that I found actually is available in my slide. Okay, you can later on I will pass this slide, then you can refer to this specific slide, then you can get this link, then you can also learn more from these guys. There are actually a lot of practice question that you can able to see. Okay, so just I should keep the screenshot in case if I need. Okay, now one thing actually I want to make sure that some of the thing I want to emphasize here in the exam, right? You will have a 4 to 6 clusters each exam when you do. Okay, one of the thing is actually you need to make sure that you are actually using the use context on the cluster name. Each question this will appear on top. Make sure that you are in the right cluster to perform the operation, because there are certain questions ask you to perform cluster A, but you perform in the cluster B, even though it's right, the exam result won't counted, you will fail. Okay, always, even though you are in the same cluster, copy this command, paste it every time that you execute. Then student, make sure that you are in the path of called student at machine something. Then if you are actually coming out, sometimes you are actually asked to go inside the node and do troubleshooting. If you are doing, make sure that you are in the root, then you are exiting 2 times, it will come out. If you do 3rd time, it will exam close, then you need to request the exam person to reopen your exam terminal. Okay, so if you want to know more detail, there is a fantastic guide is written by Ravi Kumar Ramasamy. He was in Standard Chartered Bank. Now he's moved to IBM. So he wrote up this 30-page item that you can able to go and view. He also very clearly given guidance on the everything that you need to look into. So you can able to have a great look on this, right? I'll post it this as well. Okay. Now, first thing is actually is I would suggest to learn imperatively command, kubectl command as much as possible, because you don't have a time to do a declarative in the YAML script, right? If you do any error, it will make your life crazy on the day of exam. So I would suggest to learn as much as possible kubectl. You don't need to memorize the entire path because the whole cheat sheet is available for you to look at, but you at least understand how the command behave. then you can able to get the syntax and everything from there. Okay. Then second thing is really comfortable with the kubectl. Okay. You go and get the help and then done. Don't worry about, if you, again, I'm repeating here, keep emphasizing, do more or less kubectl. If you notice, I have done most of the thing in using kubectl, right? Don't panic. Okay, you have enough time to, as long as you have practiced enough in your exam, for the exam. If you don't practice, it's not sufficient. Okay, try to practice as much as possible. Try to type commands, try to do, because the reason I have give you a practice questions for you to practice. Okay, if you don't practice on the day, you are not going to do anything. You will definitely get panic. Okay, don't spend too much time on the single question. If you are not able to complete the question, please skip, go to next one. Okay, at least take 10 minutes for each question, otherwise skip, go to next one, flag it, come back when you have a time, because you just need a 66% to pass this exam. Okay, try to create alias, that is which just now I create, kubectl create -f, I just use kgf, right? Use kind of thing, so that you will be better, you will have a faster thing. Okay, with this, I'm ending my session. Here is I'm open for any question that you want to, any question come up, Asif?
Yeah, I think as of now, no. Hey guys, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and can ask directly. And
either I'm too clear or I'm too confusing everyone.
no, I think it was really nice. Thank you very much, sir. It was really nice. I have actually few questions, like in terms of saving. Like you mentioned that we can open the two tabs only while means doing. So how exactly means, like, suppose means like we want to, because there are a lot of commands.
Let's assume this is actually is the actual exam window. Okay, your window will be look like this, and you will be here, right? You are allowed to open at a time only two tabs. So one is your exam, another one is actually your documentation. Okay. To do change, you, for example, this is actually is the cubes, persistent volume. Now you have a question about talking about configuration map. Then go and do a configuration. You need to click and do. At a time, you are allowed to open only two windows, not more than two windows.
Okay, that's why we need to save everything as a bookmarks, and we can just change. So and suppose if we got any error while executing the commands, like means like, which is not the error of actual the exam, but it is some issue with from the organizer of the exam. So means like, how exactly we need to contact?
There is a proctor is actually monitoring your monitor. He is always there in the online. There is a thing called chat, and you can be able to chat with him. So he will monitor your screen. Your screen is completely recorded. You are only allowed to do this too. Anything under Kubernetes.io, you are able to browse.
Okay.
Okay. Anything other than Kubernetes.io, you will not allow. If you go Google, then they will stop you from exam.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You are only allowed to do Kubernetes.io. Okay, that's all.
Nilesh is asking actually, can you use external screen or monitor?
No. So you have to show your rooms when you actually do exam. Only your laptops on the table, not even a keyboard, nothing in the table. Everything has to be put aside.
Not even a book.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Actually, I had a one power card on top of my table. They asked me to remove it. Okay. Literally asked me to remove it. So nothing in the table. Okay. Only you can have a water bottle. The water bottle must be transparent. It cannot be closed. I actually I bought a water, just normal water. I put it. That one has a wrapper, right? Blue Mountain or whatever. They asked me to remove that wrapper itself. So it's that kind of thing, right? And also, while you are actually doing, you can't speak yourself. Some people, kubectl, get, expose, all this thing they type while you speak, right? Sorry, while type they speak. You are also not allowed to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have taken any Microsoft Pearson, it's the same. Every certification is the same. Your you can only have your laptop. That's it, not your phone. Phone needs to be somewhere outside, and you need to rotate your laptop and then show them your surrounding and make.
So you can
he
keep
needs
your
to make
phone,
sure that
but just reachable location. Like that's
yeah,
all.
not with you.
Yeah, actually, because this exam is a bit different in terms of we need to everything do live, creating the cluster, like, so that's why it's like more, and we can only access 2 tabs. So yeah, if something happens in the middle of exam, or maybe, while executing the commands, if some error came, so we are stuck.
Yeah.
That's
So any question, guys, on the exam point of view?
Yeah, I have a question. Sorry, myself Kumar. So one of my question is I wanted to ask, like, are we allowed to skip the question, and will there be any continuity between the questions, like, since we are creating so many practical pods, so if we skip one of the question, will there be any impact to take the next questions or something? Yeah.
So far, my experience, okay, to be honest, I failed first time when I sit CKA.
Okay.
Okay, I failed because it required 74. I took 72.
Okay.
Because I was panic.
I see.
Okay, because I never experienced this. I went on and did, and I did a couple of mistakes. One of the mistakes that I told you, use context, and I actually used the different cluster and did the work, and I come back, I realized that it's actually done in a different cluster, not the exact cluster that they are asking.
I see. Okay.
So another thing is actually I noticed each questions are independent.
Okay. Okay, got it. Yeah, and yeah, I have one more questions, like, since you mentioned, like, we are allowed to open only 2 tabs. One is for questions terminal, and another one is like Kubernetes.io. What will happen if we accidentally open multiple tabs with Kubernetes.io itself?
Okay.
Like, are we allowed to open Kubernetes.io?
So immediately Proctor will pass the exam, ask you to close and restart.
Restart from beginning?
I mean, from where you stop. They pass. There is a pass button. They will pass it, and then they'll ask you to close it. Then actually they will start again.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Faisal. Yeah. That's the questions that I wanted to ask. Yeah.
So how many questions is actually it is, right? So for previously, I don't know right now how much for CKA. When I was doing it, actually 24 for CKA, 19 for CKAD. So when I say question is actually like this, right? So you just know what you see in my question here is actually the question is that you are seeing here. This is actually is question number 8, 9, right? Do you call this a one question, or actually you call one question with multiple tasks, right? For example, here is actually creating a PVC port. All this actually is one question. Okay. So each question has a multiple task.
So all the questions are practical exams. There won't be any multiple choice.
100% is practical. No multiple answers.
Okay.
The exam will look like exactly what I'm showing you.
Okay.
So you go. I strongly recommend to go and practice this. Okay, this guy. So if I go back to this, right, you can see that he has actually is fantastic resources, right? He actually create a simulated question as well for you. We also give you 30 minutes time window to complete the 5 questions, 10 questions, right? Okay. You can go and do and to get it, right? And you can look at this lab, okay? Then you see the entire lab, and from there you can able to see whole lab, right? This is all lab only. Then at the end of the day, you can see that there is a writing lab. Okay. There is no exam lab. Okay.
okay. So there is one more question. How many points each question is worth?
How many points? Each one is a different percentage. It's not a point. It's a percentage. Some will get 1%. Some will get 2%. Some will be 3. Some will be 5. Percentage that you will gain. So you also need to take. That's why I say each time when you look at, you just take note of the percentage. so that you know how much percentage that you are going to take at the end of the day. Overall exam is 100%. Each question will, the percentage will vary.
Yeah, I think that's a question. Thank you very much, sir. It was really
so
nice.
Much for everyone, and thank you for joining and give a feedback. And anything. Even there is no negative mark. If you do wrong, nothing is negative. Actually, you fail. That's all. For that question, you will not complete. So other thing is actually I notice if you have 5 tasks, you must complete 5 tasks to get the full answer. I complete 2 right doesn't mean that I'll get a half mark. No half mark here. Okay. Either pass or fail. That's it. For the percentage, if you 5%, you have a, for example, I have asked to create a PV, I asked to create a PVC, I was asked to create a pod. I create a PV, I create a PVC, but I didn't create the pod. Then if the exam point is 5%, I'm failed for 5%. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, with this, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone. Have a great evening and thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your session. Yeah. Hey guys, we have our next speaker here, Lohit. He is going to talk on with Azure Bicep, IaC with Azure Bicep. So he is a lead on Xamariners. He's having more than experience in Azure on .NET 2 decades experience on .NET technologies and Azure and serverless. So yeah, he have done a very nice series on Azure community before, API building series. So if you are interested to do it's like building of APIs, so all these sessions are available on our YouTube channel, so you can take a look. So yeah, I think Lohit, you can go on. Great.
Sorry, I think I was on mute. Can you guys hear me clearly? And then can you guys see my screen clear?
Sure, we can see. I think I have already. Can I know the YouTube channel? Okay, great.
I think for the MSSGUG.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave the housekeeping to you. So I have one of the toughest job now, which is I'm standing between you and your dinner. If you're doing late dinner, otherwise, if you're a Singaporean, you should have finished your dinner by now. So whatever it is, I'll try to make sure that we try to get this done within the next maybe 45 to 50 minutes, and then leave the last 10 minutes for maybe a Q&A. So today's topic that I've been playing around with this for a while, so I'm beginning to like more of this particular topic. That is Bicep. It's not the Bicep that we all think of. So I just titled it as Azure IaC, or it stands for Infrastructure as a Code with the Bicep. So it's going to be a very brief introduction to what is Bicep, why do you need Bicep, and how it works, and then what are the benefits. And we will also create a simple script, but I'm not going to do the typical, if you go online, YouTube or anywhere, and then try to look for demos on Bicep, I bet you will find 99% of the time somebody is creating a storage account. Well, my projects are not typically a storage account based project, right? I have a web app, I have a web app plan, the app service plan, I have a function app, I have a consumption plan, I have an app insights. Yeah, so that's the idea for today. Like, create a real world, a simple real world template using the Bicep, and then we're going to just take it forward from there. Okay, so let's get started. I know you'll be thinking about your dinner, but Bicep is great, so just keep focusing on the screen and be with me. So this is the agenda for today that I had. I wanted to keep it very light, as I said, so we're going to quickly take a look at who am I. If you're very new to this group, as Asif said, sometime back, like 3 months ago or something, we did a whole four-part series on, how do you create a real-world end-to-end API using Azure functions. I'm not against Kubernetes, but functions is much more simpler and then easier and then faster to market or whatever, whatnot. So I am a big fan of serverless, and then I would convert you to go serverless. So that's another discussion for another day. And then we're going to look at introduction to Bicep. We will see how to getting started and then write the first Bicep template. And of course, we end the day with a Q&A. Having said that, a little bit about myself. I'm a technology lead at a consulting firm called Xamariners. Yes, you heard it right. It's not Microsoft. My boss was a big fan, or he's a big fan of Xamarin. And when Xamarin came out, he started building apps on Xamarin. So he named the company Xamariners. And then I'm an ex-Microsoft MVP. I hung up my boots somewhere in 2019. But before that, for 8 years, I've been a MVP. I am also an ex-Telerik evangelist. If you know Telerik, one of the leading control manufacturers for the software world, I used to manage their whole product team in India. I'm an author. I've written a couple of books. I'm a speaker, as you can see, and then I also blog. My blog is .netrumbles.wordpress.com. So that's a little bit about me. So before I start, I have some assumptions about who you are. I'm assuming you know what is IaC. As I said, IaC stands for infrastructure as a code, right? I'm assuming you know what is IaC. I don't have time to go about what is IaC. So I'm assuming you know it. If you don't know it, well, just go ahead, read up, and then you will understand. Watch this video again because it's recorded live. I'm also assuming that you know Azure, one of the cloud providers, Microsoft, and has their cloud called Azure. So I'm assuming you know Azure. I'm also assuming you have heard about ARM, or Azure Resource Manager templates, right? We don't have time to cover these topics today. That is why I said the assumption is you know what is IaC, you know what is Azure, you know what is ARM. Okay. Having said that, I will give you a brief refresher, maybe a minute refresher. So, what is infrastructure as a code? The best meaning or statement that I could figure out was from Microsoft Docs. There is a Docs on Bicep, and it has a fantastic information on what is IaC. They say infrastructure as a code is nothing but instruction manual for your infrastructure. I hope everybody goes to IKEA, gets a new whatever furniture to your house. How do you assemble it? Well, IKEA gives you a manual for your furniture, and the instruction manual contains everything. Hey, look, in order to go to that end state, you got to start from step 1, go to step 2, go to step 3. And then you will end up there. The end goal we know, and there is a series of steps to go there. That's exactly what your IaC is, an instruction manual for your infrastructure. What does the manual contain? It contains the end configuration of your resources and how to reach that particular state, right? It's simple. When I say my infrastructure, I need a keyword, I need a resource group, I need a app service plan, I need an app service, I need a function app, I need a consumption plan. That's my end state. But how do I go there? Well, that's what the instruction manual is all about. You say, I want this is created. That's a brief refresher about what is IaC, instruction manual for your infrastructure. Just keep that in mind. Now, a brief refresher about what is ARM, Azure Resource Manager. It's very simple. It's a service used to deploy and manage resources in Azure, right? You can create your Azure resources from 4 different ways. Like, I can go to portal, click the button, click, and I got my resource. Well, I'm not a portal guy. I don't want to open up a browser. I don't want to go there, here, and everything. So what do? I open up my command prompt. I go to PowerShell, and then I say, create a new VM, or create a new app service, or create a new app service plan. Or maybe I'm a big fan of Azure CLI. They have done it very beautifully. AZ, group, resource, group, create. I'm done. I created my resource. Or if you're brave enough, well, there is REST API, and then you can directly go to the REST API and then start doing it. Now, then what is a resource manager? Well, all these guys talk to this control plane called as, it's known as a control plane. These are the keywords that you need to be aware of. Azure Resource Manager, although it is a service, is known as a control plane for your resources. What do? You're talking to Azure Resource Manager. Basically, you're telling ARM that, hey, look, I want this resources created. Please go ahead, create it. Well, ARM does what you say and then comes back to you and then says, I'm done. So Azure Resource Manager is nothing but a service used to deploy and manage resources in Azure, right? Then what is Project Bicep? Well, if you have never seen what is, let me quickly bring up a window. Yeah, if you have never seen what ARM is all about, well, this is the ARM. The right-hand side that you're seeing is a bunch of JSON that you see here. And this is ARM template, Azure Resource Manager template. It has a couple of sections. It has a metadata, it has parameters, it has resources, and you can also have a section called variables if I define a variable to use it everywhere. This is the ARM template, and then notice here, you do have a schema for that, right? So that's what ARM template looks like. And believe me, writing ARM templates is okay when you have 1 resource, 2 resource, 3 resource. The moment you have like tens of 10 resources, 15 resources, yeah, it's not one of the simplest and easiest way to manage your infrastructure. So Microsoft came up with a new option called as Bicep. Initially it was called as Project Bicep. Now Bicep is a official product from Microsoft. And today we're going to learn about what is this Bicep all about. Well, the Project Bicep is very simple. It's a DSL, domain specific language. So that means it's not a standard programming language. You cannot use Bicep and then go ahead and then write a Windows application or a web application or a console. No, you can't do any of these things. So what is this DSL then? Domain specific language. Well, it's a domain specific language for a very specific domain. And that domain is Azure Resource Manager template language, right? In order to write Azure Resource Manager templates, well, you use Bicep. Bicep is a DSL, it's a language. So you use Bicep to create the Resource Manager templates. How do we create the Resource Manager templates? Well, no more JSON. You can go through the JSON way if you want, because that is also the supported way. But with Bicep, it's a declarative way of deploying your Azure resources. Declarative means I'm expressing what I want in terms of a code. And Project Bicep or Bicep was from day one intended to be easy to understand and straightforward to learn. Okay, so basically Microsoft. So somebody has a statement. Basically, Microsoft decided to invent their own Terraform after figure out that people don't like YARN templates for IaC. Oh well. You are kind of right, yes and no. It's not their own Terraform. Mind you, Terraform is completely different. Now, you by making that statement of Bicep and Terraform, they're together, you're comparing apples to oranges. I'll show you why. Okay, there's very good reason why I say that this is apples to oranges. So just be with me. I'm going to take you there, and then you will understand, this is cool. So I promise you that. So this is intended to be easy to understand and straightforward to learn. Okay, so what are the benefits, right? Of course, why would I jump into Bicep? You will jump into Bicep because Bicep is simpler in syntax. You don't have any more JSON, nesting of JSON, a lengthy file. No, you don't have that. Another biggest factor for me in Bicep is modules. I can create reusable modules. For example, most of my projects that I've been doing for the last 2 years is completely based on function app. I do microservices using function, right? So I have like 10 function apps. Each function app has probably 2 or 3 functions depending on their domain. So I need to create 10 function app, right? So in order to create 10 function app, I don't need to write the same code 10 times. I write a code which creates the function app, create it as a module, and reuse it 10 times. That's what Bicep allows you to do. Plus, with Bicep, this is another important thing, automatic dependency management. When I create an app service, my app service depends on an app service plan. I don't need to maintain the dependency myself. Bicep is smart enough to understand that, okay, you depend on the plan. Okay, I know your dependency now. Okay, that's fine. Microsoft also worked towards tooling, and with Visual Studio Code, you get type validation, intelligence, everything is there because now Bicep is a whole language and there is a tooling around it. So these are some of the benefits of Bicep. And this is how a Bicep template looks like. Somebody said Terraform. Yes, of course, Terraform is a DSL. It's a domain-specific language that HashiCorp invented. Right now, one of the interesting things about Bicep is the guy who created TypeScript is also responsible to give Microsoft a direction towards how Bicep should be done, how Bicep as a language should be created. And most of these things that you're seeing is Anders Heiber's inputs, and then the team took his inputs and then did the language like this. The way it is now is all shaped by Anders Heilsberg's inputs. You have a parameter. That means when I run this Bicep template, I can provide external parameters. It's up to you, but it depends on how you want to write your template. If your template needs an external parameter, well, there you go. You just say param, name of the parameter, what kind of data type it is. You don't have the full data type because remember, this is a DSL, domain specific language. So you have the typical number, you have an array, you have a string, you have a bool. Yeah, those things are there, but not like a full-fledged programming language. Then you can create your own variables inside. Like, if I have 10 places where I need to use the same string over and again, I just create a variable and then reuse the variable. And then in order to create a resource itself, notice it's very simple. Resource, a symbolic name for that so that I can identify that in my script. And then we call it as a provider. Microsoft.storage/storage account is the provider. And at the rate, you need to tell which API version are you targeting. That's the fantastic thing about this. 2019-0601 means Microsoft does a fantastic effort in terms of versioning their REST APIs. Imagine the whole of Azure is REST API, right? At the end of the day, it's just a REST API. Imagine the amount of versioning they need to do. There's a whole lot of versions available all the way from, I think, 2013 or 2012 or whatever, the day they started. And the latest one probably is 2021, whatever release they have, right? So this is how it is. And it's very simple. I want to create a storage account, the name, the location, kind, SKU, properties, I'm done. And then from this template, I want to also provide an output, meaning if somebody wants to read it, they can read the output from this template. That's what the output means. That is all it is. So this is the kind of structure of Bicep. How does Bicep work, right? You as an author, you will author your template and you will submit the Bicep template to Azure Resource Manager. That's it. You just create the template, give it to ARM. ARM, what it does is it will transpile the Bicep to JSON because ARM understands JSON. The transpilation is automatic. You do not have to do it yourself. But Bicep also has a CLI, and Bicep CLI, using Bicep CLI, you can convert or transpile your Bicep template to an ARM JSON template manually. That is Bicep build and then give the Bicep file. It is going to just convert it into a JSON. Otherwise, take a look at the deployment command that I have. AZ deployment group create template file. I just give it the Bicep. That's it. And then I'm saying under what resource group this needs to be worked on. So that's that's how Bicep works. Now, when to use Bicep? Keep in mind that Bicep is Azure native, meaning it's natively understood by the Azure platform. Why? Because you're working with ARM. ARM is the native control plane, and Bicep is targeted towards ARM. So yeah, if you're only in Azure, the fantastic thing to go with Bicep. Then integration, right? So basically, you're doing a lot of things with Azure. Well, yeah, makes sense. Of course, Azure support. Now Bicep is in its, it has moved out of experimental or a preview kind of things. Bicep is a product. It's a 04.x release. So you have the Microsoft support. And the best thing that I like about Bicep, no state management. Somebody said Terraform. Well, can you do Terraform without a state? No. You need an infrastructure to maintain your infrastructure, right? You need to give Terraform a state, like a storage account, in order to keep its, I think they call it as, I don't know, the state files, or you will have to go to Terraform Cloud and then run your infrastructure from Terraform Cloud in order to create an infrastructure in Azure. Well, but good luck maintaining two things, because maintaining Azure itself is a lot of things. Now you have two things. It's the same thing with Pulumi. Pulumi needs a state management infrastructure. You need to give it a Azure blob. So that means even before you create your infrastructure, you need to create an infrastructure so that Pulumi or Terraform can store the state files. Okay. Or you go to Pulumi Cloud or Terraform Cloud, and they give you like, oh yeah, we do it on our end. You don't need to do it. Up to you. It's how you want to do it. For me, I don't want to take the headache of that state management. That's what Bicep gives me. I just write my template and give it to ARM. ARM is already doing state management for you on Azure. So that's it. I am hands off the state management. And then if you have been working on ARM and you know the JSON, it's a very easy transition from JSON to Bicep. So we're going to see that. Now, important question, when not to use Bicep? You seeing me so excited about Bicep doesn't mean that tomorrow you're going to go to your office and say like, oh guys, stop everything, we're going to use Bicep. No, you got to be pragmatic. You got to be practical. If you have a heavy investment on Terraform, continue with Terraform. Nobody is asking you to change. If you have a heavy investment on Pulumi, continue with Pulumi. Nobody is asking you to change. But if you're very new to IaC, you have never done it, and then you're trying to get into IaC on Azure, well, Bicep makes sense for you, right? Then multi-cloud, you tend to hear this a lot. Oh, I'm in Azure, I'm in Google. Oh yeah, I cannot use one script. Well, your projects can never be in two baskets. They have to be either in basket one or in basket two. What they mean by multi-cloud is I have a team which has to manage apps in Azure, which has to manage apps in GCP, which has to manage apps in AWS. Yes, that's multi-cloud. But as a team, I need to know Terraform, maybe. I need to know something else for AWS. I need to know something else for Azure. Yeah, in that case, Bicep will not work. Why? Because if you put everything into Bicep, and if you start learning Bicep, well, Bicep is only for Azure. So these are the two cases where Bicep doesn't fit your bill. So you need to basically go back, sit with the team, understand the where you're going, what you want to achieve. Is it Azure only? If yes, well, Bicep is for you. Now, getting started, having said all those things, let me pause for a moment and then see if we have any questions on what is Bicep, how Bicep works, what are the benefits, and when not to use a Bicep. If you have any question, feel free to either type or come off mute and then share the question. I'm going to spend a minute now. Somebody is typing. Okay, I'm just going to wait for one question. If there is a question, let's address it and then we move on. I'm already at half an hour mark. As I said, I don't want to make you wait for your dinners. Okay, I'm going to move on. If there's a question, let it come there. I'm going to pick it up. So getting started. So what does it take to getting started with Bicep? Very simple. Visual Studio Code. Why Visual Studio Code? Well, the Bicep templates are nothing but a text file. Do you really need a Visual Studio Code? Well, no. You can open up Notepad and then start writing it. For example, let me show you a simple thing, right? I can pretty much, let me bring up my Notepad. Well, this is my Notepad, and I can say, oh yeah, param foo, it's a string. Well, nobody understands what is foo, so let's change it. We're gonna say, what environment are we putting? So it's going to be dev. Okay, that's enough. Then I will say variable, var. As you can see, I'm struggling. I don't have any IntelliSense. I don't have a snippet. I don't have anything, but I can still create it because it's just a language. It's a domain-specific language. So let me just complete it for this. So where, let's say storage account name equals, it's a string. So I'm going to do SA storage account or SAE storage account, maybe foo dev 001, right? Or I can do this also. In Bicep, you have string interpolation. I can use env, right? It's pretty cool. They can infer, oh, env is a parameter that's coming in and its value is dev. So when ARM translates this into JSON, this will become SA foo dev 001, right? And then I can create resource STG. Now I'm going to be struggling there really. So I don't know the provider, Microsoft dot. I think it is storage and then containers and then @2021. I don't know what thing is there. So and then you say. Right now you can see I am struggling, right? So that's the thing. You don't need Visual Studio Code. If you are familiar with all the constructs of Bicep, well, take a notepad or take any text editor and then start coding. Not a problem. But with Visual Studio Code, now it has become the most popular code editor in the whole world. What Bicep team did was they wrote extension for Visual Studio Code. And Bicep comes with its own CLI. Bicep comes with its own language server because, well, I need to make sure that you're writing it correct. I want to do the type check. I want to do the IntelliSense. So you need a language server in the Visual Studio Code. And you need Visual Studio Code. You need the Bicep extension for VS Code. And you also need Bicep CLI. Once you install the AZ CLI, the Azure CLI, the Bicep CLI is embedded inside of the AZ CLI, so you can work directly out of AZ and then start working at it. If you want to manually build your Bicep file, you need a Bicep CLI. So how do you get it? Well, Azure CLI tools or PowerShell latest tools. Then you can also install Bicep manually using Windows Installer or Winget or Chocolatey, manually by using the zip file, or if you're on Mac, Homebrew, right? So these are the things that is required. So let me show it to you what I have. I already have AZ, let's see the version. So I'm on 2.28 or whatever version. And then I also have AZ Bicep version. Let's check this. So I'm probably at 04 something. Yeah, 04613. Installing Bicep using AZ CLI is very simple. You just say AZ Bicep install, or if you already have Bicep and then you want to upgrade, you just say upgrade, right? That's all you need to do. Now, currently, I already have, so let's see what my folder structure is. Yeah, I have a demo. So I'm going to go here. And I already have installed AZ, the AZ CLI. I've already installed Bicep. I already have Visual Studio Code. So let me open up Visual Studio Code. Here is my Visual Studio Code. And I already installed the Bicep extension. So this is an extension that comes in the Visual Studio Code. So I've already installed. Let's go and then see what happens when I do. Oh yeah, I need to show you another thing. Now, in order to work with deployment, well, you need to be logged in. So I've already logged in. So let me get my query to show you that I have logged into my Azure account. There you go. I logged into Azure Cloud. That's the public, cloud that's there. I'm using this subscription. My name is this. I'm a user, so that's good. So I'm already logged in. Now I'm in the demo folder. So that's the same folder that I've opened. Now, in order to start with this is all the tools that you need. Here is the problem statement for us to do it in maybe next 15 minutes. You all are part of Contoso's DevOps team. You have been tasked to create infrastructure for, let's say, Foo app. I'm a big user of Foo bar Baz. I don't know if you've heard of that, but every discussion that I do is like, okay, let's create a Foo app or let's create a Baz app. So you have to create an infrastructure for Foo app. Foo app consists of the following: web app to host Blazor WebAssembly app, function app to host an API, application monitoring using App Insights, team needs dev and test environment for now. Keep in mind that I am not here to showcase the web app or the function app. It's the intention of today's demo is not the application, but rather the intention is to show how do you create infrastructure when somebody tells you that, hey, I want this done, go ahead, do it, come back. You are the DevOps team now, right? You got to create a web app, you got to create a function app, you got to create an app inside. If you have been in Azure, you know that web app needs a web app plan. Function app needs a function app plan. App insights, well, I can create an app insight directly, right? So we are looking at something like this. This is what I call as a blueprint. Most of my architectural documentation starts with this. I put a blueprint first saying like, guys, this is how it is going to be. I have an app service plan. The app service is bound to that app service plan. I have a consumption plan. And if I want to create a function app, the function app needs a plan, function app needs a storage account. So, and then I need to have an app inside. So I have 6 resources that I'm looking at now. And me and my team, we literally spend half a day to 1 day just going over the naming. Why? If you get the naming wrong, it's very difficult to rename it in your production or in your whatever. It's easy to do it in dev. You can tear off your resource group and then start working with a new naming. But if you're in production, you can't rename. So take a time to work the names correctly. And this is exactly what I do in my company. We always go with this concept of the first prefix. We usually go with 3 nomenclature: RG dash, plan dash, app dash, SA, func dash, appy dash. These are all the synonym or the short names of the resource itself. RG, resource group. Plan, it's an app service plan. Func, it's function app. Appy, it's app insights. So Microsoft has already given a nice naming conventions, and we use this. And notice what we do. The first is the resource. Second nomenclature is the app itself or the resource usage itself. The resource group is usually RG dash app name, and then dash which environment am I talking about? Dev, test, prod, you name it, UAT, it's up to you. So we usually go with this convention, and then that's very simple. Once I know this convention, it's very easy for me to start building stuff. So let's start building stuff and then see how soon we can build this. Let me try to maximize my screen a little bit. Okay, so I need to first create a file called main.bicep. It's a convention, I can call it lohit.bicep. Well, it doesn't look good. Main.bicep means, okay, you're creating bicep. So this is the main file for your template. Okay, that's good. So now what I'm going to do is there are 2 schools of thoughts when it comes to infrastructure. Do you automate resource group creation, or do you create resource group out of your automation, meaning you create it manually and then you just deploy your resources? It's up to you as a team, or it's up to your practices. I have worked in both the worlds, wherein we create a resource group through automation. Some teams I worked, we were like, no, we're gonna control who has capability to create a resource group. So I had to talk to the DevOps team and say, like, guys, for our next feature, we need a new resource group because we're building a new product. Okay, so we're gonna give it to you. Only when they did the resource group, then I start building my resources. It's up to you. For today's demo, I went with the simplest, which is like the resource group I've already created. One is called as rg-mssgug-dev, and another one is called as test. Okay, so the resource group is already done. Now, what do we need to create first? Well, the first thing that I need is I need to create a param. So the param name is going to be environment. And now notice the IntelliSense that's coming up within Visual Studio. Is it asking me, hey, this parameter, is it an array, bool, int, object, string? What do you want? Well, I need string. And I'm also going to say by default, if somebody does not provide me an environment string, please keep it as dev. And I can also say that, oh, by the way, if somebody does provide a value, it got to be this. You cannot give me anything outside of this, right? This says for this parameter, the default value is dev, and the only allowed values are dev, test, prod. If you give me anything else, sorry, I can't create the resource. I cannot go ahead and proceed with the creation. Okay, now I also want to create a variable called location. And for the variables, you don't need to say what kind of data template is that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go pick the resource group, and this is something fantastic in Bicep. There are certain functions, out of the box functions available. It knows that it is running under a resource group scope. So I can say, hey, by the way, give me the location of the resource group. Done. I don't need to ask somebody, hey, please pass me the location. Okay. So having said that, the first thing that we need to create is probably, let's create the app insights. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I already prepared some things. Instead of you watching me type everything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and then start copy pasting. I'll explain you what I'm pasting. So yeah, I'm going to also do this one. So I also need another parameter. So typically I get one more parameter, and that parameter is app name. What is the app name? Remember, we were foo, right? So okay, if tomorrow we want to change something, that's fine. Otherwise, well, by default, it is foo name. So I'm going to create a variable called suffix, and notice string interpolation that's going on. I'm saying I'm creating a variable called suffix. The first part of the suffix comes from a variable called app name, which is here in line number 7. The second part comes from a parameter called env, which is in line number 6, right? That's it. Now, the first thing that I want to create is an app insights. So I'm going to say variable app insights name is nothing but appy dash suffix. So when it is completely done, the way this is going to look like at runtime is appy dash foo dash dev, right? That's how it's going to be. That's what I'm trying to do. Now I need to create my app insights. So very simple. I'll show you a shortcut, res, and notice all the snippets that are available. Here, notice there is already a snippet available called App Insights, App Insights Alert Rules, App Insights Auto Scale, all those things. So I'm going to just tab on App Insights. And now what it is saying is, hey, this is the bare bone structure for creating your resource called App Insights. So I'm going to name this as App Insights. I'm not going to do it as components. And this is the provider that I was talking about. The provider is Microsoft.insights.components. And it is, the snippet seems to be a little old. So what I can do is I can take this off, keep my cursor next to the @ do a control space, voila. Now I see the REST API version that's available for me. Okay, the latest one that is available is 2022. That's okay, or whatever name they have. Now, I've already created a variable called app insights name. So I can just give it, saying like, okay, here's the name. And now I don't need to do this. I already have a variable called location. Notice this variable has an underline, yellow underline. If I mouse over, it says like, oh, variable location is declared, but it's never used. Now see the power of Bicep, language server, Visual Studio, CLI, everything working together. They can infer, did you create a variable and it's not used anywhere? So that's what they can give you. So I'm going to use location. Notice the moment I use it, well, the warning is gone, right? What else do I need? Let me kind web. Yes, properties, application type web. Yeah. So what are these? Well, you will need to know what the resource called App Insight is and what it needs to get created. So this is declarative way of creating your resources for Azure, right? Now, resource App Insights, that is done. Let's go and then create a web app plan, meaning the app service plan. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called web app plan name, and it is plan app, and then I'm taking the suffix. Again, it's very simple, right? When it is done, it is going to look like plan dash app food dash dev. This is how it is going to look like. So this is how typically I tell my team, like, you know what, don't just use one parameter and then play around with it, so that it's very easy, it's very predictive, and then it's very reliable when it comes to the naming, whatever we want to do. Now, in order to create the web app plan, very simple. Again, I will use resource keyword. If you are getting confused about what is this is like a variable but it's known as a symbolic name for this resource that I'm creating. And I can use this symbolic name somewhere, anywhere down the line. I will show you in a moment where I will use this symbolic name and this symbolic name soon. So I created a web app plan. It's Microsoft Web Server Forms, whatever. Name is whatever we created. Location is so. I'm creating a F1, the free tire. I don't want to burn my billing now. Then I need to create a web application itself. So let's see how easy it is to create a web application. Here it is. I create a resource. I create a web app. And then I need to create a web app name variable because I'm using that variable. So let me quickly get that web app variable. Very simple. I create a variable called web app name. It is following a convention, app dash, and then whatever we have. And then we come back here, web app name, location, identity. So I'm saying that, hey, Azure, give a system assigned identity for my web application. So my web application now has its own identity. It will be handy if you want to do keyword communication directly from the app service. It's always recommended to go with an identity, either system MSI, the managed system identity, or user assigned system identity. Now, notice here what is happening on line number 40. A web app needs to know where its plan is, right? I need to tell the plan identifier. Notice what I'm able to do. Well, web app plan, hang on. We just created that web app plan, right? This is the symbolic name. Oh, okay. I need its identifier. No problem. Put a dot. It is going to give you everything from that particular resource. A plan has an identifier. That is what I need. I just use an ID. And then I'm making the web app HTTPS only. My site is a .NET v5.0, that is .NET 5. And then this is what I always preach to my teams. Just because your web app needs an app settings, the application insights key, don't put it somewhere else. Rather, only one guy should know it, and that is ARM, right? I'm telling ARM, like, look, ARM, I need you to create this app setting key called App Insights Instrumentation Key. The value for that should come from App Insights Properties Instrumentation Key. Hang on, what is App Insights? Well, we just created it. This is the resource that we created. That's the symbolic name that I used, right? So like this, Bicep is fantastic when it comes to creating IaC within Azure. And I'm creating all the app settings that I want. The first thing that I let my DevOps team do is sit with the development team and then ask them, hey, you said you have a web app. What configuration settings do you need? Give me everything that you want and what is the value? Where is the value coming from? We have a brainstorming session. I want my DevOps to understand what this key is for. Where is the value coming from? I make it a point to go through that. That's it. So I created a web app plan now. So the next thing that we need to create is, well, we need to create a function app. For that, I need a function app plan name, function app storage, and then function app name. So let me go ahead and create those three variables for now. So here it is. I have a func app plan name. I'm saying plan, storage account name, function app name. Now I just need to create all those resources. So let me create a function app plan first. And the function app plan looks like this. Function app plan, well, there is a provider, name is function app plan, location is this, the kind is, this is a function app. I'm using the consumption tire, that's known as the Y1 name, the name is Y1 tire is dynamic. And then, all these things, if you go through the documentation, you know what is happening. That's the plan. We also need storage account for the function to work. We're going to use this function app storage account name, location, storage v2, standard LRS. Now, there are different kinds of things that you can do. If it is a dev environment, you can go into a LRS. But if it is a production environment, well, you will need a GRS. So what I can do is I can create like var, SKU to use equals if, we have all the if conditions in all those things. If NV is equal to prod, you can do all those if else condition and then work it out. In order to keep it simple, I'm just showcasing like this is what Bicep is all about. So you create your storage account. Next, I need to create the function app itself. So here is the function app. Similar, there's nothing different between a function app and then a normal app service. The only thing that makes it differentiated is the kind. What kind are you creating this website as? Oh, it's a function app. I want identity to be system assigned. Now, server form ID, again, the plan and then .id. And I want this to be .NET v50. And notice here, I need to know where the storage is. Very simple. We already created the storage, get its name. We already created the storage, get its keys, and then give it to the account key here, right? Like that. There is nowhere I'm keeping a hard-coded value. Only the runtime knows what that value is, mints it into my application. That is how DevOps needs to be done. There need not be anybody going into your portal. I've seen teams come up to me and say like, hey, can we deploy this in 10 minutes? Like, no, it takes a day. I'm like, why would it take a day? Well, because I need to first deploy the infra. Then I need to go into all the applications. I need to set up the keys. No, that's not how you do DevOps, right? So this is how you do DevOps. All the things that I need is set up here within this one. Now, I don't have time to show you modules. Modules is great. Maybe that's another day. Now I'm going to save this and I'm going to quickly show you the CLI. So I'm in the demo. Let me bring up this guy. I need you to pay close attention to my Explorer here on the right-hand side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say Bicep build, and then I'm going to give my main.bicep. Don't worry about the warning. There is nothing. Notice here, I now have main.json. Well, what is a main.json? Well, this is the ARM JSON template that Bicep spits it out. It's called as transpilation. I take DSL and I convert it into a JSON. Exactly whatever I write here, in a human readable, maintainable format is converted into a JSON, which I don't need to worry about. Notice here, parameters, environment, type, default value, allowed value, versus I just had to write this one line versus here you have 5 lines. That's the power of Bicep. Here is the variables, here is the resources, and let me show you the dependency. I think it should, yeah, here. So I'm creating a website, and notice here it says this site depends on 2 components. One is App Insights, another one is Web App Planner. Remember, I told you automatic dependency management. Yeah, that's what this is all about. Okay, now, do I really need the main.json to deploy? No, you don't need. So let me show you what I can do. So I'm going to first run this onto my dev environment. So for my dev environment, what do I need to do is let me type it out. So I've already logged into my Azure, and here is my resource group. So as I said, there are 2 resource groups, MS, SG, UG, dev, and then test. Let me go inside dev, 0, right? I have nothing. I've not done anything into my resource group. So what I'm saying is, hey, Azure CLI deployment group create, name is initial deployment, resource group is RG, MS, SG, UG, dev, template file is main.bicep. That is all I need to do. And I'm going to click enter, let it start running, and I'm going to show you the deployment in progress. Now it's running. Let's go to the resource group, deployments, and we have our initial deployment in progress. It has already created the func foo plan. It is now creating the storage account. It is now creating the app plan for the web app. And let's give it some more time. There you go. It's done. 3 resources are done. It's creating the storage account. And if I look at my this, yeah, it keeps running here. Okay, all the resources inside our resource group is done. And I forgot to do one thing. and that was, I forgot to put the output. So we can do an output from here. Basically, output is nothing but if I want to give any value to the outside world, that's okay. Not a problem. So I'm going to go back to, let's go back to my resource group, and they are slowly coming up. Notice I have the app insights, I have the ASP plan, the app service plan for the web app service plan for the function, I have the storage account, and here is the app service. And we should get the function app coming in any moment. Okay, by the way, let's get inside the this one, configuration. This is the web app. And remember, in the web app, what did we say? We said we need a key called app insights. The value for that app insight key comes from the app insights. I need a connection string, right? Well, here are the three connections. This is the app settings. Show value. Okay, I have a masking on, so let me toggle off my mask. Here's the instrumentation key. Here's the connection string. I can show it to you here. You know, it's all there. Now let's go back. We go back to resource group, and I should have my function app. So let's go inside function app, configuration. And there you go. All the other things are coming up now. So if I go here, I have my app insights key. That is the connection string. And the Azure job storage, remember? Everything is. Nilesh has a question. Does Bicep support modularity similar to Terraform? Example, vars means X. Yes, the module is there. Maybe I need to come back and then take a separate session on modules itself. It's fantastic to look at the module. So having said that, the last thing that I want to do is remember the problem statement. They want a test environment. Can anybody tell me, can I create a test environment in the next 1 minute? Can I create it? We have 6 minutes to end the session, but let's see. What do you guys think? Can I create a test environment in a minute or so? Yes, no, maybe, no, it cannot be. Of course, la. Okay, so let's say in the next 1 minute, let's create the test environment. As I said, I've already created the resource group that's called as MSSGUG test, right? Now, what I need to do is I just need to tell the Azure CLI that I need you to run this against the test. If I run it as is, it's going to just create it as dev. So I'm going to do parameters. And then we know we have an environment parameter, and then I'm going to do a test, right? So I'm crossing my fingers because this was not scripted. It's unscripted. I'm going way over my demo. So I'm going to do go ahead. Let's do deployment. OK, let's come back to test RG, and there it is. So how Bicep is different from Terraform again? Well, two different concepts, as I said. You're looking at the syntax and then you're thinking like, come on, la, it's the same thing. No, yes, it's a DSL. It's a domain-specific language. The underlying principle of Bicep, underlying principle of Terraform, two different things. Terraform needs its own state management. Bicep, it's just a language. It doesn't maintain your state of your infrastructure. Why? Because ARM is already doing it. Azure Resource Manager is already maintaining your state. That's the beauty of this particular IaC using Bicep, right? I don't need to maintain a state. I just have to write the template, give it to it, and then that's it. Now, let's take a look at how my test environment, well, test environment is done. It took less than a minute. I thought it's going to be a minute. Boom. I created the test environment with the same infra script with only one parameter being changed. And that is how I tell my team. Yes, there is a tool. OK, let me finish my demo and then maybe we can get on to the question. I know there's a lot of things going on. So let's see what happened. So here is the application insights. Let's take a look at the identifier of this. This is E853EF05. let's go back to app service and configuration. And let's take a look at what's the value for this guy is. Advanced edit. And oh, what I saw was different. Hang on. So that is app insights. And then you need to go into properties. And here is the instrumentation key, A88F052B. Okay, let's go back to the app service configuration. Come on, and then advanced edit, and it is A88F05, right? I've converted everything, interwired everything. Of course, I did not have time to put a key vault in place. In architectures that we do, we never store, in clear text like this. What I'm showing, this is a demo, by the way. Don't do it in your production. In your production, what you need to do is exactly the same thing, but put all the keys, values as secrets in key vault. And app service has a fantastic feature wherein it can go and then ask the key vault to give it a secret of the, if you give the name, it is going to read the secret at runtime. So that is typically how we do it. So with that, I hope within an hour, I was able to, kind of let you guys know that, yeah, we did that Bicep template. This is all about a brief introduction about the Bicep, what it is, how it works, what you can do, how you can write IaC with Bicep. And now I'm open for questions. I know we are 2 minutes into finishing this, but if there's any question, please go ahead.
Hey guys, if you have any questions, you can unmute and can ask directly.
Yeah, so there was one thing that Asif said, which is I find this tool very helpful. I'm going to quickly showcase all the links. The first link, it's Azure. This is the GitHub link, right? This is where everything about, I'm literally here every week trying to understand what is new, what is what is happening, and I keep looking at issues, I keep looking at pull requests, and then that gives me a roadmap. The Bicep team also has a you just increased my appetite before dinner. Okay, that's good, man. That was the idea, increase the appetite before dinner. So the team has weekly stand-ups. You can go there and then take a look at what the team is doing. Then this is the documentation site for Bicep, fantastically maintained documentation with any other documentation from Microsoft. And this is a Microsoft Learn modules. There are 2 modules: deploy and manage resources in Azure by using Bicep, build Azure infrastructure in a team environment by using Bicep. 2 different concepts, right? So if you're interested, you should definitely do this. It's a pretty good course. And this is another fantastic thing the team did. It's called as a Bicep playground. What do I mean by that? Well, here is all the Azure ARM templates, right? Let's say I take a simplest of the template, which is I want to create a storage account, storage blob container. Well, there you go. You just write this and that translates into this particular JSON. I want to create, let's say, a web app with SQL, web app with SQL database. So what they have done is they show you the Bicep template, and then they show you, okay, when you write this Bicep, this is how the JSON is going to turn like. And then everything is here. I can create SQL Server. I can create SQL Server database, allow Windows Azure IPs, meaning I'm doing a restriction, firewall restriction, hosting plan, website, you name it. I'm in love with this whole IaC, and then I've been doing this. Blob storage is unlimited data store. Well, blob storage is basically a store where you keep your blobs. Blobs means binary large object. It can be anything. It's unlimited? Yes, but you pay for the storage. It's, I think, I don't know, 2 cents or 20 cents for 1 gigabyte of storage. So very cheap storage that you get. The last but not the least, this is something that I keep going into. This is the ARM template reference. For example, you saw me creating web app. Let's go to the web and let's go to the server forms. The server form is nothing but the app service plan, as we call it. And notice here, they already have code for, if you're trying to create it in Bicep, well, yeah, this is what it is. And then you can take a look at, hey, what is required, what is not required, and then, well, turn the bells and whistles off or on. You name it, you can create it. If I want to create a site, that is a website, well, here it is. Microsoft.web, the latest is 2020-12/01, and then, well, you set all these things, and then you're done. Okay, now let's come back to question. Yeah, the tool that you are talking about. Yes. Where is it? Yeah, decompiling an ARM template. So basically, they created a tool. It is not completely foolproof. Basically, you will need to rely on yourself to go in and then do it. So this is what you can do. AZ Bicep decompile and give a JSON. It will convert your JSON back into Bicep. Like it takes your ARM template, converts it into Bicep.
Yeah.
Okay, any other question?
What's the landing zone in Azure? What do you want?
Let me take a look at it. What is landing zone in Azure? Oh, my Teams is catching up on me. Hang on, I cannot see the latest. What is landing zone in Azure? Landing zone are a big ocean. Having said that, in a brief, if I have to tell what is landing zone in brief, if you are an enterprise, first you need to understand how Azure is composed in terms of subscription. There is a management group, then you have subscription, then you tenant, and then you have subscription. So management group, tenant, subscription. I can have any number of subscription. So typically, if you're a big enterprise, like let's say your Accenture, your Infosys, or your whatever, and you have a lot of team, a team which does a lot of cloud-related work, and you have a lot of projects that are doing cloud-related work. You want to manage the policy, you want to manage the governing, you want to manage who spends how much, budgeting. Yeah, you need something like landing zone. The landing zone is a concept which is basically, it says like, look, create a management resource group, create a application resource group, create a monitoring resource group, and then everything is interconnected through VNet peering. And then Microsoft, along with Terraform, what Microsoft has created is they created a concept called as landing zone using Terraform. So it's already there. I think if you go to aka.ms CAF, it's Cloud Adoption Framework. As part of CAF, Cloud Adoption Framework, you have landing zone using Terraform. So it must be somewhere over here. It's part of migration. No, it's not exactly migration. It's basically, I am an enterprise. I want to policy how my teams use Azure. I want to govern how my teams use Azure. I want to monitor how my teams use Azure. Well, you need to have this whole landing zone concept. Yeah, there you go. Nilesh has a link for landing zone. It's an ocean in itself. If you're typically working with, for example, I work with simple projects. For example, when I say simple, it's basically I'm building commercial projects, right? For example, we built a commerce platform using CRM as a backend, using functions in the middle, and then Blazor as a front end. So this was one resource group with 20 resources. Let's say I don't need a landing zone for that. Yeah, best practices for large scale organizations to policy, govern, and monitor Azure usage from their teams. I know it's late. If everybody has to drop, that's fine. I don't want to hold you for your dinner, but if anybody has any question, well, hang on.
I have one question related to nested templates. In how exactly nested templates in ARM is converted or managed in Azure Bicep. So I
think the answer for that is modules again. So what you can do is you just have to keep on creating your a nested template is nothing but another module.
Yeah.
So I can create. So for example, I can quickly show you that if we have time, or maybe I'm going to go overboard. But yeah, the concept is very simple. You go ahead, you create another file. Let's say webapp.bicep. You create a param here. Let's say a name string. I need you to give me that, and then maybe whatever, some resource or something, right? It will script if I don't use it. So I'm going to say suffix is basically, I also need maybe environment. So I'm going to create, this is nothing but, sorry. So this is name and then dash environment, right? Now, if I want to use this in main.jsub, Bicep, all I need to do is I just need to come here, module. Okay, let me get some room. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I just need to say module and then give some name, module web app. And notice what it is able to do. It is now giving me an intelligence saying like, oh, I see you want to do a module and I see a Bicep file. Do you want to use this file? Right? It is giving me the intelligence. So I just do this and then I can do this. I just need to give it a name. Name is just a symbolic name. Like, I can say the same thing like a mod web app. There's nothing we use about this. And then I need to tell the scope, right? The scope is the resource group. Where should this module be run? Okay, it should be run against this resource group. And then I also have a param. Notice what is happening. I have red squigglies everywhere. Yeah, so it says like, it's not, that's so don't worry. The language server or the CLI is going out of order for now. But I can come back here, params, and then I can say name. Notice it says name required. Why? Because I did not give it a default value. So I can say, oh yeah, name is foo app. Right? Now, I can go one level down also. So let's say I create one more, let's say baz.bicep, right? Well, nobody stops you from using baz. Here, module, I don't know, mod, baz. So it says, oh, do you want to use baz? Yeah, I want to use baz. So like this, it's a completely different, mind shift from ARM templates.
Yeah. But
and it is much more simpler.
Yeah, I think the concept is similar to like Terraform also. Like Terraform also having the similar modules like you will reference in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I keep coming back to the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, can you completely do automation with Terraform with just your scripts? I'm not talking about your application. Okay. Everything, whatever it takes. You can automate your application using Terraform scripts, but who is going to create the storage for your Terraform state? What do?
Then okay. Yeah,
you need to jump back into PowerShell, Azure CLI. I don't know. I don't want to maintain two things for my infrastructure. That's my point. As I said, if you are in Terraform, you are well versed with Terraform, you don't have a problem. Well, no, don't worry. Just be there. This is when you are completely natively Azure, and I don't want to take the headache of state management, which I like. I don't want to manage the state. I want to leave it to, I'm a PaaS guy, by the way. I do everything platform as a service. And this is one of the things, right? I don't need to maintain the state. Let me give it to my Azure cloud provider. He's going to maintain it. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Lavit. Hey guys, if you have any further questions.
Saying management group plus subscription plus resource plus resources equals landing zone. Yeah, that's correct, but not exactly not that. Yeah. Management group and subscription is basically your hierarchy of your organization. The resource and resources is what you will use. How do I policy that? How do I govern that? How do I monitor that? Yeah, so the whole shebang, as we call it, is landing zone. The concept, I mean, the wording landing zone is nothing but, hey, if you want to embrace Azure, I'm going to help you out with this particular thing called landing zone. Yeah, I'm going to land you into Azure with a best practice.
Okay, guys, if you have any further questions, so you can just drop an email or can put in the meetupgroup.com. So yeah, we'll be happy to answer. And thanks again, Lavit, for a wonderful session. And thank you everyone for joining today.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone being here. I know it's dinner time, so yeah.
We have already announced for 21st October the session, so you can sign up on meetup.com. Let me put the link here. Okay.
SharePoint migration on-prem to Azure. I'm not a SharePoint guy.
Hi, Haja. I think maybe we'll check. Maybe we'll connect you with the SharePoint MVP. I think he will be more better. I think advise you on SharePoint migration tools to Azure. Yeah, I think his name is Sentinel. Let me. LinkedIn. You can connect with Sentinel. I think he is a Microsoft MVP on SharePoint, Office 365. So he'll be better advise you on the tools for migrating the SharePoint to Azure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.